This is the Way Podcast. If you want to know more about the Way Podcast, go to podcasttheway.com.
All right, and this is on FM 91.7, WHUS Stores at the top of the hour. Today's topic is the music industry with my guest today, Slavic Livins. Now, he's a producer in the music industry, and yeah, how you doing today?
Good. Just really quick too, it's not an error to call me producer, but I'm mostly an engineer.
Sound engineer.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
sound audio engineer. Yeah. Everything audio. Producer too, but the main focus is definitely in engineering.
Gotcha.
I like science more than the other stuff.
Science more than the other. Oh, so you like the soundboards and the technical side?
More like a frequency and its vibrations.
Yeah, I think I saw you did a Reddit Ask Me Anything, and you mentioned that somebody asked, like, what do you like about what you do or something? And I forgot what your response was, but it's something about frequencies.
It fascinates me. It started from just doing music as a musician to going and being an engineer to being a producer, being an artist, and then I'm coming back into more engineer than anything else to going whatever engineer audio can be. So from recording to mixing to mastering to acoustics, acoustic design, testing, so all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
You're the one who like sets up, organize the studios, make sure everything sounds great. And the producer is more, what's the difference, I guess?
Producer, well, nowadays it's everybody's, a lot of producer here in, let's say in English language would be nowadays, would be called the one that making the music. Then when they write music, they would bring into engineer to make it into something maybe like arrangement or sound wise where, you bring me drums, guitars and vocals, and I'll put together as somebody else can hear and be like, oh yeah, it sounds like a song, so somebody can make it sound like somebody else would, say like a song, like I guess harmony of frequencies.
Okay, I gotcha. And I see you kind of have a studio. Well, you got the soundproofing behind you.
This is not even the studio. This is just kind of like my little room. I just, I'm crazy about sound.
It carries with you like everywhere you go.
Dude, not necessarily carries, but everywhere I go and I like to stay, I need to create like a little something. Unless the studios, there's this one studio in Chicago called Pressure Point, man. Just the sound there. I don't know, like I don't know if I used to have a studio of my own for about 10 years, and I thought I had a great build out, but maybe I don't know, maybe I haven't been around for such a long time to know the difference. And then 10 years of my own, I changed it a couple times, my studio, and then I went to this one studio in Chicago, and man, I just fell in love with the sound. I mean, they have a nice equipment, but the sound of the room, there's something, I think from there on, it's just it's almost like an understanding something. So I don't know if I explain again, you were asking me about the producer, but, more or less it's all in one, but the engineer is more technical and producer more, musical instruments.
Okay, I think I understand the difference. Technical versus just like how it's coming together, like the music.
Yeah. Like a producer back in the day would be the guy who organized the session. So I've been doing it for over 20 years. So I've been on many aspects of the industry when it was at the top and bottom, at the top again, which I think now is it's kind of like your game stock, it's just going up.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully it keeps going up too. I also invested in a cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, and I'm up 17% today. So hopefully it keeps going up.
How do you know when to stop and pull it out?
You technically don't.
It's strategy. You're gonna just hold on to it.
The stock market is literally gambling, even though some people like know the science behind it. So
I'm saying this as far as your own.
I'm just gambling. Yeah, like I don't know when to sell.
So what do you have a stop point where you're gonna be like, next week I'm definitely gonna pull it out?
Well, the funny thing is
for a year.
Funny thing is when this airs, it'll be about 2-3 weeks out, so I'll know the answer by then. But as of right now, for a future me, hopefully I made the right choice. But yeah, I think GameStop when it reaches 1,000. So right now it's
That's
at 300.
So
It's a
that's
bit.
when you said 1,000, you're gonna start thinking about pulling out.
I'll start thinking probably like even Friday or next week if it starts going down. But 1,000's my goal. Like if it reaches that, I'm selling. I'm not going to get too greedy.
Gotcha.
But like
That's a good one, right?
yeah, but if it like falls, like it dropped to 180 early this morning, and now it's at like 290, so that's like a big drop.
Mm-hmm.
If I was awake, I would have been worried. If I didn't sleep late.
Yeah, I know. No, I tried it a few times. I don't know if it's necessarily for me at this moment. It's that whole thing of you almost have to buy and leave and never, not never, but like 10 years, 5 years.
Oh yeah, this whole all day, every 10 minutes, I'm addicted. I have to like keep looking at
Yeah,
my
that's
phone.
right, exactly. So that's why I had to stop it because I got into that. Like some people love video games. For me, the same thing. I think one point I start playing, and then next point is 6 hours later. I'm like, oh my god,
6 hours I pass, I missed the clock.
yeah, completely. I mean, it was great, but I was like, all right, I gotta pay attention to that's the tendency, with
Yeah,
me. So,
and
like,
with
does
like
it sound like an obsession a little bit, right?
yeah, and probably like, did you start like making yourself like when you're in the studio working? Do you kind of lose track of time, or was like playing video games getting into your audio producing
I'm the
time,
other way.
audio engineering
And
time?
yeah, in the studio time mostly because it's professional business and I'm working with the clients. I'm actually very conscious of what's going on unless the client will say like it doesn't matter. Usually we have a start and stop time.
All right,
So I'm
yeah.
definitely aware of the time.
So what you're saying with the music and stuff, I mean, not music, the frequencies, I feel like that's a blessing and a curse. Like it's a blessing because now you have a good understanding, like you know what you're hearing, you understand like how you can do your job better than most people. But is it a curse where like you get some headphones and you're like, oh, I don't like these, or you're walking in the street and it just sounds kind of off to you?
I think something like that, right? Like definitely hard to see live comedy because most of the time they don't have a good system or it's like a room like some kind of a something where the sound starts slab back to you and I hear that delay very distinct like I'm able to differentiate with the main sound and delay and it just I start getting like I don't like it.
It's like a small echo, or there's a delay when he
Yeah,
speaks to the.
no, literally like a small echo like slapback like da da like every word has that a lot lower obviously but yeah, and it bothers me. So right, so the comedy has to, So usually I try not to go. Of course, nobody goes nowadays, but I'm saying,
Oh yeah.
BC before COVID, when we used to do stuff.
Yep, the good old days, literally. Well, when I go to see a comedy show, I'm gonna have to focus on that,
No,
especially like.
don't.
Well, I have to now though. You put in my brain. I'm gonna
Right.
try not to, but like
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like those big ones, like when you see the famous comedians like Gabriel Iglesias or Dave Chappelle, they
Mhm.
get like those big. Is it the same with those big auditoriums? Probably
Yeah.
worse
No,
even.
absolutely right. Dave Chappelle, I've seen him. It was incredible.
Really?
Most of the time, it's good in the big places, but like a smaller venues where the wall is have what do they call? Maybe just regular bricks. If it's bricks, it's different surface and it's bouncing off the brick surface. It has a little slab back, and if a lot of it, and I'm sitting and maybe like it's amplified somehow, like those a lot of those places are not built for that, right? It's just whatever. You just need a acoustic. It's built actually for a band more than anything else, and the person is not loud enough to be a band without a mic. So they're just saying things and start. We're hearing at 1,000. What's the speed of sound? 1,000 miles, 4,000 feet a second.
Oh.
Bounce back.
And they're not loud enough to like overpower that like
So they're
bands.
not, right, but they're little. It's like you said, they're like a little echoes
That's
that
like
like bothering me, and I can't listen to it anymore.
wow. All right, noted. That's like you ever see Joe Rogan, or
Mm-hmm.
Joe Rogan? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like he had this old studio where he had like a desk across between him and who he's talking with. He had a brick wall. It was like a brick
Didn't they
wall.
put drapes? They didn't have drapes.
drapes on the guest side. So yeah, I forgot about that. So he had a brick wall behind him, and then
100%. Yeah, no, exactly. But you got the directional mic. How was it? RE20. So
yep,
you're like
RE20.
right here type of stuff. But if you right here, by the time your sound gets to the mic, the sound from the wall from my mouth bounces back and also gets to the mic. So the closer you are, the less of that sound from the wall gets into it. Number one, or it just becomes so quiet that you don't notice.
That's why, like, when I got trained with the radio, that's like the first thing they said, like, to literally speak into this.
Yeah.
And I've been so casual, like, talking back here and
You
stuff.
get the room sound.
The past 2 days, the past two interviews, I was like, wait, no, I got a rule one, like the first page.
100%.
And like I told you, I got this padding thing behind me, but I don't think it matters as much.
The key, if you really you want the secret,
yeah,
of course, above you. You have to hang it above you. That's this, and then put a little rock below you and hang it above. Maybe not here, but I'm talking about the ceiling. That's it. That you don't have to do anything behind you. The mic takes care of itself because it's a cardioid pattern, and it's just stuff phasing out. But those two things are the most, because your room seems, as far as I can tell, just a little farther. It's longer than the ceiling, right? The ceiling, what, about 8 feet?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Ceiling probably like 8 feet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Probably
it's
like
actually not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do. I'm not talking about hanging that mattress. That might be.
No, wait. But what were you talking about? Like hanging this, or like just hanging something?
Hanging something above you, right?
Right.
Like they're called in acoustical terms, it's called a cloud. So you like a little panel,
Yeah.
like that. So the sound just, so it bounces back, let's say, and it's going somewhere else.
In like classrooms, back a few years ago when I was at UConn, they had like the ceilings. They sort of were like just squares, and then holes between each square, like all across the ceiling. Like that's the new trend.
Yeah.
Probably for that reason.
The holes between the ceilings are almost not necessarily necessary. They do kind of what's called a trap sound on top of so basically the sound goes to the panel, goes through the hole, and then when it's trying to come back down, now it's trapped by that ceiling. That's where the holes are there to kind of let sound bit through. But the main thing is just a lot cheaper to do that versus do the whole thing, because then you're really only doing it on the sides, and that's where it's getting trapped. And then this part is, but like I said, it's a lot more work. This is more, what you're talking about, more optimal.
Yeah, you sound like kind of like a scientist with this stuff. I mean, it's like your field.
I've been getting, for the past couple of years, I got this interesting gig that working with Chicago public schools. So building studios there, like, at least when I was doing it was by myself, with, let's say, a partner, we had a studio and I helped him build another studio. It's more of a like collective. Here, I had to do it on my own, and it's like, it's a public school, so you either do it right away with, or you're like, they can, get somebody else. So it was very interesting. So I had to learn a lot in a short amount of time, and it was like pressure to do it. And, I think I just went and got a big chunk.
Nice. I mean, that sounds like pressure, but like speaking of pressure, I see like a list of like artists you sort of worked for, like John Legend, G Herbo, Snoop Dogg, Chief Keef, like Juice World, stuff like that. Like, what did you do with them, or like, was there pressure with that?
We actually, the latest song we did with that Statement from G Herbo. So G Herbo is an artist everybody knows, probably a rap artist. So
I'm a big fan of him. I was a few weeks too late to buy his record. Like the physical, guys started getting into that trend, and it was up for a while, but I just missed it by that much.
It's sad, actually. Today is a little bit sad day. His friend got shot.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, some kind of weird situation. Anyway, but so he released that record Statement. It was really not a prepare. It was like overnight. They just sent me. He recorded somewhere else, and then they sent me, and I finalized it. And then they just put it wherever they put Spotify or whatever, it's released. So that's That's what pretty much I do. Usually I record some, but a lot of times the stuff gets sent to me. So with Herb, back in the day, maybe like 2, 3 years ago, I would be in the studio with him for 8 hours. But now he a lot more mobile. He just goes places and, wherever he's at, he like records and then sends it to me.
When you say finalized, what do you mean? Like clear it up or?
Like you're talking about the producer. So at that point, I'm not a producer. Producer would be a guy who made the beat.
Yeah. But you said like he would send something your way and you'd finalize it.
Right. So let's say sometimes it's mixing, sometimes it's what's called mastering. So finalize in those terms, mixing, I would be putting some effects, maybe cutting, maybe cleaning some of the vocals, stuff like this. And mastering is, I don't remember what I did at that point, but pretty much just, I guess, made it sound so it could be so it sounds as good as whatever his other stuff is or as comparable. So let's say if you did it kind of low, I would bring the volume up. If some of the low end is a little too loud, I would tuck it back a little some. If his vocals are poking out too much versus his other stuff, I would bring it down. So yeah, that's that thing I call finalize.
Gotcha.
I call it mastering.
Oh, okay. I've heard that term. Yeah. What about like? So you said you've been in the studio with him before, like 2-3 years ago. What's that's like? Like, what's he like, or what does that work like?
That work like is sometimes it just goes super quick, and sometimes we're like chilling for like hours at a time.
Is there a lot of like pot in the studio, or like?
Yeah, a lot of.
That's what I think.
Usually, he's the guy who smokes a lot, and I think one of the reasons that I haven't been in the studio with him lately is because most of the time I tell you I found this one room in Chicago and they don't want people smoking in the room. So I think that's what happened. There were a couple times he was trying to come in and I wanted to be in this room and he didn't want to. Usually you got to go like let's say to a lounge. He wants to smoke he wants to smoke all the time. I mean that's kind of like a creative juice or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? So smoking all the time, then go on the mic, he could lay a whole song in one take, maybe a little couple punches, but he would have an idea. Like, a lot of times people would try to do like, I know a lot of people write like words or, a sentence. By the time he gets to the mic, it's usually like a chunk, like a complete verse and a hook, which is cool. And sometimes, like I said, we were just sitting there, either he smokes, we're just kind of chilling, maybe listening to some other stuff. And usually listening to music, some kind of music where maybe he's trying to write to or he's thinking about or maybe needs some changes.
Well, I know like
too much.
Huh? No. You're supposed to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, please talk as much as you can. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going off the subject or something.
Oh no, 100%. Literally, if you have something to talk about, it's on subject.
Well, it was for Herb. I've been working for the past couple records that he had, and I think it's always the same process. Just he record tons of material, and then we slim down to whatever it is. Like I think Survivor was like 20 songs. I don't remember, or is it some kind of a deluxe?
The album?
Yeah, and then
you just did the deluxe, and that was like 20 at least, I think.
Yeah, so I'm saying he's got tons of material. Yeah. And that, like I said, that statement he just put out because there was stuff in the news, and he's like, that's a perfect time to be an artist. Great. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. I know some artists like you say he comes in like and makes a song like that. I know like Juice WRLD, did you work with him or did you just do work for him?
I did work for him.
Okay. So, because I know when he's in the studio, he actually, like his last album, he would just freestyle every song on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's
very talented.
Off the top of the head. Sadly, passed away. I bought his album, I'm waiting for that to come in. But you worked with G Herbo. Who else were you? Well, actually, he's from Chicago too, right?
Yeah, they're both from Chicago, and they're both close. So once you work with Herb, you're kind of working with Juice WRLD, with 21 Savage, and a few other people that part of that whole kind of. Actually, no, 21 is from somewhere else, from Atlanta, but
I think Atlanta.
Yeah. Queen Key is one of the girls, Santa. They're all on this one label, that like kind of star G Herbo, just their star artist right now. But they got some other good coming up stuff.
So wait, who else did you work with like in the studio? I just want to read some more names like Gunna, Young Thug, Lil Uzi Vert, Jeremiah,
Yeah,
Gucci. Oh, wait, yeah.
Gucci Mane, right? Gucci, interesting story. Was when you work with him, you start work like at 8, 9 in the morning.
Really?
At least maybe I've never worked with him when he was starting out, but nowadays it's very early. Like I said, when do you want to start? You think you probably want to start at like 3, and you want to start at 12. He's like, no, can we do 9?
Like I said earlier, I'm waking up at like 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Yeah, right. No, 9 o'clock he's in the studio.
So you gotta get that alarm set, like we said earlier. You got your alarms.
Yeah, absolutely right. I usually wake up. I just recently became a dad, and so
Congratulations.
thank you. So she just wakes up at a certain time, and
so that could be your alarm clock.
In the morning, yeah, all the time. I don't think I can sleep right now past 9, even if I want to. Because usually I get up like 7:38.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you have a studio in Chicago now. What's it called again?
Chicago. Oh, right now the room that I'm talking about is called Pressure Point Studios.
I guess yeah, but I was thinking of, don't you have what is it? Chicago Audio Mastering.
Chicago Audio Mastering, yeah.
Yeah, so you've been working on that and stuff. You got to that point, but in the beginning, you came from the Soviet Union, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What made you want to come to America? And then in America, how did you build up to where you are?
Well, my parents decided that for me as far as coming to America. Yeah. Once we got here, it was either being a musician, which I thought I want to do, but I didn't want to do because, you got to get this crazy test in college. You have to like learn some songs or something for like exam to be a musician. I don't know.
To like play the guitar or drums or something? They have anything?
Yeah, for like couple big pieces. For the, I don't know, maybe it's the program that I didn't know. I literally came in the middle of high school here. So I moved there in the middle of high school. Yeah. And by the time I got to college, so in like a year and a half after that, I came. Now it's the college, so I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, so literally, I didn't want to play an instrument or learn something new to get to school because I used to play trumpet. So you have to play some kind of two big pieces. Not like you have to play 2 pop songs. You have to play some kind of an exam. You got to play, I don't know, like 2 minutes each piece of some kind of a classical or, something like that.
Is this for like just like regular school? Like why like
a music school, I guess. I don't know. This is the one that I was applying, couple of them, where my parents thought that I don't know.
Is I would think like most people think between like accounting or business or engineering or being a like doctor or something like that. You
I was going after.
You were set for like the music path, like you knew that's what you want to do.
Definitely not. No, I just said that was one of the paths that I could have chosen, and good thing I didn't because I didn't want to do it. But the other path is I'm an immigrant. You come in, you're pressures. Your parents expect you to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a computer programmer. Those are the 3 choices. There is no. If you're accountant, you're already kind of little to the left already. Music is way off the radar. So yeah, I actually went to study chemistry, and not that I wanted to be a doctor. And during that time, I was just doing a lot of music, my own, and I was, back and forth, like, should I do it? Should I not? And, I didn't, especially at that time, I didn't know anybody who call it made it or not made it, right?
Yeah. I know a bunch of kids from my high school still trying to make it.
Yeah.
Stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, I've been doing this for such a long time. Like I said, I started when I don't know, I told you, started when I was 7, and trumpet. Interesting story. I started playing trumpet just because somebody else started playing trumpet. Right, a bunch of kids went to music school and signed up for some courses. Yeah. And back in Soviet Union, it's all free, so you can sign up for anything. 200 courses if you want to take it. So you go in, and I don't know how it is right now, but definitely you go in. So I started playing it for a couple of years, and then I started developing allergies. And I think allergies started developing into asthma. And I think my parents took me to a doctor, and the doctor said he has to continue play trumpet or he's gonna get asthma.
So it's preventing that. Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, I got stuck playing the trumpet, not because I
Yeah.
wanted to, but now it's like a preventive measure, which it worked.
Good. Yeah.
I never got it, so I
People
still
say
got allergies, but never developed into asthma.
people say music is like a medicine, but I never heard it as like a legit physical kind of medicine.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's like some kind of a different kind of medicine, I think, between the old school medicine and the new school.
Different topic. I heard recently there's like a musical psychotherapy or something, like people who have like depression or anxiety and stuff, they're clinically like diagnosed, given music or something, like told to listen to this genre. I don't know how. I just heard like the title of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think
I've heard
through
that
through
too.
ages, it was like that, right? Music does something to you.
Yeah. I still wonder, like, what is about music that we like? Like, why do you hear a melody? Why do you like the melody? Or you hear a bass? Why do you like the bass? Because if you think about it, like, it's literally just frequencies, just a bunch of different frequencies in our ear, like me speaking, kind of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think so.
But
I think there is something to it. I also like sci-fi a lot, and I remember there was a book, some kind of a where at one point of time they figured out all the frequencies and what they for. So there's this factory when they are doing some kind of calculations and kind of like over the intercom or something, they're doing this slow, like let's say it's 5 hertz. Human ear can't hear it. So it's a 5 hertz frequency that's going through that place, and everybody who is working there being productive on such a level. And there's a room next door that's doing 12 hertz, and they figure out what frequency for which production.
is that like nonfiction or
No,
sci-fi?
it's a fiction, sci-fi.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying from that on, I believe there is some to it. Kind of like we like harmony, certain harmony or certain distortion makes us feel more angrier, let's say, or more alert. Maybe
Yeah.
anger is not a good place. Alert, right? The more.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, do you know, there's a rapper called Denzel Curry, and he loves like to just use bass in all his songs, like for like he loves the distortion bass.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, I know if you give your kid, if you're studying for a test or something and you listen to Beethoven, you'll actually perform better on the exam, just because like something about the Beethoven music brings
Sure,
that out of you.
it's right. It's just like calming and a little bit alert at the same time. Where if you listen to I don't know, like that what's the guy's name? I don't know.
Oh, the one I just said.
Yeah.
Oh, Denzel Curry.
Yeah, what do you think if you study and listen to him? You're gonna have to pay attention to the words.
Yeah, I can even listen to music when I would study.
Yeah,
It would
me
always
too.
distract me because I hear the words.
Right. Some to it.
Some people can. If you ever listen to podcasts, there's this one called 20,000 Hertz. It's like one of those big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And all they do is talk about sounds in like each episode. Like one episode will be about like New York City and like how there's this constant sound going on, and like there's just they think of a sound topic and they just like dive into it. I highly recommend it.
I definitely like Rogan. It's just I don't like that it takes so long to listen.
Yeah,
So
it goes for like
sometimes
3 hours.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I mean it's great, but I mean I mean I like the idea that sometimes you can get in an hour and a half or 2 hours something comes out, but I don't want to necessarily wait for that, because I don't know how often you listen to podcasts.
I go on podcasts like different ones. Joe Rogan. I'll go on YouTube and I'll just see like the 10-minute like best clips from
The clips.
episodes. Yeah.
Sometimes I just put one podcast, let's say Joe Rogan, and listen over certain days or weeks sometimes for one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't, kind of like you, I can't really devote a lot of like hours of just listening to it.
I forgot to say before too, like he used to have that bricks half studio, like I said, but now he's got this new one where it's like the whole studio is this.
Right.
You've seen that thing.
Yeah, he's got actually those panels that you're talking about. That's actually from a place that I've used before. It's called GK Acoustics, and like that whole kind of like a design that goes around, right? The whole thing.
Yeah, that whole like
Those are acoustical panels.
each of those flat ones, and like,
Yeah.
is there a reason they have those like squiggles in them versus like the ones behind you?
No,
That's just aesthetic.
It's a cool thing, right? But both of them should have some kind of a space. The more space, not the more, the right space behind him, kind of like And he's got like lights, like right here there would be a light, and kind of well, it's a design. It's incredible design.
But they kind of bump out, and like, is that like the classroom I said before, where the sound gets behind it, it gets trapped, and they themselves absorb the sound, the high, the low frequencies.
For the high end, you really don't need it. You can put it against the wall. I'm just saying that light, he's got like an LEDs all around them. I don't know if the next time you see like an edge
because of that red pinkish color.
Yeah, and the panels themselves right here, it hides it. Where this ones are just I just did it myself. So
I heard those panels have different porosities in them. If we're basically like one part of the panel, porosity is basically like, I don't know how to word it, but it's basically like all the material intertwined with like the small holes in it. So some part of the panel will have like smaller holes in it and everything closely more dense together, while other panels will have like almost the material farther apart and bigger holes within it. And like one part is for like high frequency and like one part is for like low frequencies.
Right. Not necessarily if you like some kind of like you said material. If you put it close together, it's not necessarily gonna, I guess, not diffuse but absorb. Yeah, I guess absorb. They're not really absorbing, but when the sound passes through something super dense versus like you said, it's not more farther apart. It's actually works completely different than we think. We think the more dense, the more
that's what I figure,
right. The less sound will go through, but it depends on the material, and like I guess fiberglass is one of the most, like you said, you don't want to smash that because actually when you smash it together, it loses its ability. The more stretched out, like farther apart, that's when it really works. It's a mass. So you want necessarily one of those, but you want like a mass of them, but they're farther apart.
Yeah, because I heard if you only have one, or like you're only getting rid of like one frequency while like the others still leak through. Versus,
I see what you're saying. Gotcha. So completely different materials. I wouldn't do it because then you're saying one material it's iron, second is aluminum, third is cotton. A bunch of not necessarily metals, but more, right? That's what you're saying.
I'm kind of saying like, yeah, I mean, if that's true, if that's true too, yeah. I'm also saying just like the density, like this part's more dense, this part's less dense, and I think the material too.
You want to be like actually more even. You don't want different materials altogether. You want everything to be same thing because that's the resonance. Every material has its own resonance.
Yeah.
You don't want to introduce too many close resonance because then they're gonna distort the sound. You want to kind of like what you're saying, they sparse apart, and that's why make everything kind of the same thing. Like like wooden metals obviously will do completely different things. Like if you bang it, not that you need to bang it a mic, but that's that sound.
Even in this mic, I want one of those foams. I forget what you call them, but that you wrap around. But I heard
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
You mean like a ball type of stuff?
Well, no, they use that in the studio, like one of those like just black foams that you hook over the top.
Like a filter.
Filter.
Sure. Yeah.
But I heard they have them on the inside, so
this mic. That's what I'm saying. This mic, you don't need one. Right.
Same with the SM7B.
Sometime you need. There's a special mics, but every time you don't forget, if you ever put them on, you lose some high frequency. So if your mic is pretty dark, like this one is dark, you put something else, you lose some high frequency, and sometimes you need it.
Sometimes if you have like a higher voice, then, or if you have a lower voice,
right? Or
like that's why I got this one because I have a deep voice, and I tried the SM7B, and I just didn't like it the same.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want the foam if you had a high voice or a low voice?
Well, it's more for like plosives or like spits. You don't want to spit into my membrane too much.
You don't.
But like I said, this one is This is protected. This is already have all that thing built in, so you really don't need it. No, I like that mic a lot. It's very durable mic.
I like it too. It's just ugly as hell.
I think it has character. You're thinking of like some kind of like a nice Neumann condenser or something.
I'm thinking of the SM7B.
You like that better than this?
That one looks so nice. Yeah, I had it, but it didn't work the same, so I had to get rid of it. But I guess this one's got a retro look to it.
You know what? I have tried a ribbon mic.
A ribbon? What's that?
Yeah. I wonder how you're gonna sound because you say you got a low voice.
Yeah, I got a deeper side one.
Yeah.
Ribbon mic.
Yeah.
Oh, is that one of those like old school looking like?
No. All it is just ribbon mics are a lot darker, and sometimes there's a bump in the low end on them. So your voice, I wonder if your voice it's gonna accentuate you're gonna sound like Barry White. But yeah, you got to get closer to the mic.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, definitely.
Like really talk into the mic.
Yeah, like all right. Thanks for the day one. I keep forgetting. You gotta get down to the basics sometimes. Yeah. You said it's a heavy mic too. I love how somebody posted like, how do podcasters make money? So I replied, I have the RE20, and one thing that's great about this mic is it's very heavy, which makes it great for muggings, for robberies.
But you don't go outside.
No, I don't really rob people, but it would be a great weapon for that.
Right, I guess. Yeah. And it's very sturdy.
It is.
You can hit somebody and it's probably not gonna break.
Exactly.
Yeah. 100%.
So bring it back to something like your work. You worked nationwide commercial campaigns for like Jeep, Sprite, Kmart, Verizon, Domino's, Pop-Tarts. I mean, those are big brand names. So what kind of stuff would they have you come in to do?
So I was producing music. So that right away.
So that's time you're producing?
Yeah. So I kind of almost started. I got into studio and part jingle house. The person I was working with, he was doing tons of commercials for a lot of people. So I kind of became a producer for a company that was doing, Jeep or Kmart. I remember one year, I think we were doing Kmart probably every week, at least once a week, different commercials. Spanish, they would ask me to write something that sounds more like Spanish hip hop or something like that. So that I would do. So I would do music. Then a talent, which would be like a voiceover or a singer, would come in, and I would record them. And by the time, and there was this whole approval. So let's say in a day, you have to. So you write music by noon, then you record vocals by 6 or not. Then first thing in the morning, next day, it's 9 to 5 type of stuff.
Yeah.
And you get them and you send it to them. And during that time, 5 people are giving you comments and feedbacks, change the kick, create new melody on the song. We're going to change the script completely. So from that standpoint, it was I think I learned a lot. I became very, what's the good word? Not aware, but attention to detail, probably, like, because you have to it's a deadline. And I felt like it was giving me an opportunity to work with music. So I was like, commercials, I'll do commercials. Back in the day, commercials were not as cool as they're right now. No, not a lot of people want to be in the commercials because it's like, I don't want to say the word sellout, but something like that.
But now they actually like involve a lot more like music, a lot more stuff to do.
Yeah, they do music that, we're going to do a Coca-Cola song. Why? Maybe one day I'll get a sponsorship.
I forgot what TV show, but it's like, all right, we're going for that Apple commercial kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Because like Apple commercials, they kind of like they take from like songs versus making their own. But I guess that's like the target.
Tidbit, with Chief Keef when I worked, he had like his name tells it all, right? He smokes a lot.
Yeah.
So he would get like sponsorship from these companies that make, I think it's a rolling paper. Yeah, I think it's a rolling papers, but they made them some kind of like a little, like almost like I don't even know what it's called, like where you can put a lot of weed at the same time, and it's like a joint, but it's a construction. It's not a blunt, but it's, let's say, 5 blunts put together, and you can just pack them up, and he can just smoke nonstop.
Like a real big one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm like, talking about getting sponsorships, like he just he does it, and they're trying to get him so people probably can see that he's, I don't know, sponsorships. Yeah.
So they're trying like to get him to sponsor their weed, like making or their weed product.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then did you have to do a song for the commercial or the
No,
sponsorship?
no. He's actually an interesting guy. He's like a lot into. He's very, very picky to what he's gonna do. He, just I don't know. Interesting. I didn't expect it to be. I expected to be just doesn't care though everything, but no, it was the other way around. Like he choose what he gonna put his name on. He's pretty. I would say like a true artist. He understands art as far as I can tell.
He's really dedicated. He's actually caring about it.
Yeah, like very like I said, and I knew him for many years, but I've never really like worked on one-on-one. I think actually at this point, I think we were in LA somewhere. I think in LA by the time he moved to LA and we were in his house. And like I said, they were telling me, I'm like, what is he smoking? They were like, yeah, it's this brand that the rolling paper company that made it specifically for him. I was like, what? I mean, there's tons of everywhere that he's at. There's all this like you go give your business card. He brings all this like bags of this rolling paper packets, and he leaves or whatever. It's because he rolls all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, but they made this one thing kind of like for him, like where to smoke from. But like I said, you can pack a lot of weed into it. That's what I remember. So he was like literally like it's just blowing like a big something like you know but it doesn't burn like that because you can burn right away whole thing, but it's interesting. I don't know why we got on this topic, but
I tried to look it up and oh wait. No, that's not it. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting stuff. I mean, I never heard about that. It's cool you get like that inside view to like artists like that. You get to not that I didn't think he wasn't artist who cares about his music, but I didn't think he was. So like now I actually have that answer.
yeah, and like I said, he wouldn't just do everything, which is very interesting.
What about like any others like Snoop Dogg? I know you worked on one of his projects, but are there any other artists you have any interesting stories like that about?
Well, I don't remember. I think I was trying to go somewhere where Snoop was at one point, and they were smoking so much weed, and somebody said you probably don't want to go there because you're gonna have to smoke. And I'm like, I didn't want to smoke.
That's why,
so,
like, when I think of a rapper with pot, he's the one I think of.
yeah, yeah. No, the chick keeps smokes. I mean, a lot of people now they smoke a lot, but that guy, I've never seen anything like that. Like I said, this whole thing,
Yeah.
just
Did you smoke with him too, or?
no. I mean, I think maybe I took a puff when one time somebody was passing a blunt or something, or here and there, but not with him. No. He's a chief Keef. He's a fucking. I don't want to I don't want to do it with Snow. It would be cool, but you kind of like drinking, right? You don't want to just go we're gonna go to the bar and you only drinking one little something and like what do we come here for? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you smoke or drink?
Occasionally, yeah. Like when the situation's up, when it's
Right.
around, yeah.
So if somebody invites you and say let's go smoke or drink, and then you go and you're like you order yourself one.
I'm not having like a
sit,
time.
right, sitting the whole night. They were like, "What do we come here for?"
Yeah. No, then you gotta actually partake in it, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
Even if it's like just in the studio, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, a lot of times I am on the part where I keep the time. I am the one who keeps the time. All right, guys, let's Herb, let's get this song. Kind of like have to remind they're like out in the back smoking. Like, dude, let's get this song. We need a second verse. Because let's say he laid first verse really quick, hook really quick, and then left, and I copied already. I played it 20 times the verse for him to write, and he just not responsive or doing whatever. After some times, I'd be like, "Hey man, let's get a second verse going. Do you have any ideas?" Or say something like that on, what do you think about this hook? Let's add a couple more parts. And they could be like, "No, I don't want to," or at that point they're like, "Yeah," and they go in and they just like I said, lay something else. With that we so partially I am a producer in that sense where I make sure that sessions go a certain way.
All right, I got you. But like also to be in your position, you got to understand frequencies, you got to understand the studio, and you got to be willing to partake in smoking weed.
Smoking weed, not necessarily, but I think it's just you got to be open to it and not be like, I don't want people around me to smoke. You can't be that person be in music, I think, because it's, you know, weed is natural. It's kind of like saying, I don't want you to bring, unless you have allergies, which I understand, like I'm allergic to cats. So I can't be in the studio and somebody's bringing a cat. I'm just going to sneeze, won't be able to hear, see. Yeah. So I don't, yeah, no, I think, be okay, be professional, be cool. It's like a vibe. If you want to smoke, but if it's cool that, nobody's asked you to, you don't need to smoke. It's not like you have to. You kind of like, I think it's more like I said, a vibe, laid back type of atmosphere, usually in a studio.
I feel like that's how most smokers tend to be. It's sort of like a partake if you like. Nobody's gonna like shove it down your face.
Right. Like
Yeah.
drinking is a lot more. Let's
Yeah.
do it, man.
You gotta. They're less optional.
Yeah, less.
All right, so yeah, like in the studio, I guess I kind of said like you gotta do this, 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 but like, what kind of education, what kind of like work knowledge did you have to gain to actually get into the position you're in?
So, a lot of people ask me how to, I want to learn mastering. So I think that's not something you can learn. I think mastering is kind of like, I want to become Leonardo da Vinci. Like it just takes time. At one point, you'll get and you'll do your thing. But as far as just doing engineering, schools are great for two things: networking and somebody's kind of like letting you know that you have to do this. Kind of like like, hey, Bill, why don't you talk into the mic? You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, and they're training you to do that. So if you need somebody to do that, a lot of people do. And I needed it too because I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I went to school, but I know some people who started working in the studio first, getting interns. They got to, let's say, to the level of comfort a lot faster rather than going to schools, colleges rather. And but you kind of like with anything else, you just got to put the time. So like if the school is for you, then yeah, I think like I said, I I got definitely, I think where I'm at today, going to school. I'm constantly going to school actually right now. I always sign up for some kind of a online courses, one of those mixing tutorials or some new plugins or something. Definitely always looking for stuff.
Okay, you like the hands-on internship, working with the in the setting versus the school, like them telling you to do a good job, you need to do this, this, this. So like the hands-on approach is much better than
I think
school
because
approach.
it's our business is such a, nobody really knows what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like my parents, I think, still asking me, or when they're trying to tell their friend, they're like, "What exactly do you do?" I don't know. I'm like, that's why I'm like, just I'm an engineer at this point. Audio, sound, all the same thing. And um, I think there is a better way to say it, but I'm not necessarily hating on any schools. I think school is a way to how to achieve something like either, but you can't just become a mixing engineer out of school. You can't become a master engineer. Either you got to be a sound engineer. Like a lot of producers right now are going to engineering, which is meaning is like they know how to turn a computer, they know how to turn a bunch of plugins, and they are they're putting products out. And because maybe because right now one of those times where it kind of like converges on the sound rather than at one point it's like anything works, right? It's like it's even the bad stuff is divided into a genre of its own. Like I just heard some. I don't really listen to maybe heavy rock or metal, but I had an intern recently, and she pointed out to this. I forgot the group name, but it's some kind of black metal, and it's low end rolled off, so it's all you know snare and up high end and screeching guitars and screaming vocals, and that's
All
the
right.
sound. I was like,
Wow.
so I think with stuff like this, you kind of have to get to somewhere. You can't just learn that. You kind of either you have it or it's gonna take time.
And along with like the physical like like you said, setting up the mic or setting up the studio.
Mhm.
What about like do you still have to know? I'm assuming like the softwares, like
Yeah,
what's
like the other day, we're in COVID, right?
yeah.
I got a choir to record. But they asked me to record choir, and they wanted to do social distancing. So I have a live room, and I got 12 people to put 6 feet apart in the live room. I mean, it's a big room, but still, and get them to sound right. So 12 mics, 12 headphones. So you know what I did? This rooms, I converted both rooms into, so like a studio is a lot of times usually like there's not a lot of echoes, or there's all these panels on walls, right, and stuff.
Yeah.
So I have this. So, and usually it's not on all the sides equally. So for me, it was easier to take that stuff off or to cover it and make all the room more less of that. I'm sorry, I'm going on the tangent obviously here.
Oh, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, less of that absorptive quality, more echoes. I want to be more echoes. Easier to make more live room, I guess, rather than cover it completely with everything in the room. Am I making myself clear? Maybe I should start over.
If it becomes too covered, it almost sounds dead. Is that it?
Right. So
Okay.
it's easier to make a studio live by just taking, if it's panels on the wall, you can just take the panels on the wall. Now it's complete walls, either wood or drywall, right? On all the sides. It's a big room. And there's 12 people in a kind of like in a circle or semicircle, whatever it is. No, I guess it's a circle, complete 12. So I'm like, how do I make it sound great?
Okay.
And then there's a technique with stereo miking technique where you take two condenser mics and put them like this at 90 degrees each other.
In front of the person, like here.
Yeah,
So, like,
they're touching. So two mics, they're touching each other.
okay. Yeah.
Right? And they have to be in figure eight. Each one mic is figure eight. So I don't know if you ever seen what figure eight looks like. It's just an eight, right? So figure eight and figure eight. So I recorded was that, and then I had 12 mics, and the one in the middle, that stereo mic, one mic or two mics rather, sounded better than all of their separate mics combined.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it can make it sound more live, more that like maybe you're in an audience kind of sound. Is that what it?
It sounded like a one thing, and it sounded like a choir, rather than usually you record parts of the choir and then let's say sopranos together, altos together, tenors together, usually three parts, and then bass, whatever. But here I had them in circle and had a mic that's picking up a room. And like I said, the room sounded incredible, period, number one, because instead of putting stuff on the wall, I blocked it and make it all more, one thing. I don't know if I make, once again, I think I'm going,
No, that makes sense. I understand.
sense?
Yeah. Also, you said it was circle. Like most of the time, you kind of want to do the opposite. I feel like where you want like everything to dampen and no echo.
That's what I'm saying, right? Usually you would want that. Have 12 people in the room. I kind of thought that by the time I get, them all, first of all, it's 12 mic in the room, all doing, like this, kind of like what you are. And it's, like if you get too close to the mic, you know how it sounds, kind of like you hear your voice really well. Like, so the voice becomes pretty big, right? When you get too close to the mic, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So I wanted them not to be bigger, but to be one thing.
Gotcha. It gives it that more like, again, like a more real approach. It gives it that more like choir versus
kind of like you bought a synthesizer or something, and you press a note, and that sound is incredible, right?
Yeah.
But then you have 12 sounds like that, and now you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I understand 100%.
Yeah, and that technique. So knowing that technique, so it's called Bloom line, and it's two condenser mics and figure eight, 90 degrees from each other, pretty much just almost touching it.
Yeah.
The diaphragm touching it. I used I think Neumann's U87s, two Neumanns in figure eight. Like your mic doesn't go to figure eight. But like the mic, that next mic, for example, the ribbon mic, are usually figure eight period. So if you want to set stereo recording is completely something else that just fascinates me, and we don't do enough of it, especially in modern music. Close miking, all separate.
I've seen that one. I get what you're saying with the figure eight now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see it now. Okay.
So if you put two figure eight 90 degrees from each other, you see what happens? Like, I don't know if you see it in the picture.
Yeah, but they don't get like a feedback loop or anything. Like they don't mess with each other.
It's like all you have to do is that's the technique that once you do it, you don't even question. The phasing actually would be the 12 mics in the room, all picking up a little bit of each other. And I thought, well, good thing that I said the room mics, because I'm like, the other mics sounded like whatever, like a crappy, like I said, by itself, every one of those people sounded great. When you put them together, it's like I got to do a whole bunch of cutting, whole bunch of EQ and whatever. And you you hear the room sound. It's like, oh my God. It's
No, I can
incredible.
imagine.
Yeah.
What about why is the room circular shape? Because most of the time, I think
It's not. No, the
Oh, I
room
think it's a
is,
circle.
yeah. No, I got them in a circle to be
Oh,
6 feet from each other as much as I could.
oh, okay.
And the only way I can do it is to have a, stereo mic in the middle, and they're kind of like around that mic with its own, so one guy from another guy is about 12 feet, maybe a little less. I think I could do, I think studio is big enough for 12, but something, I tried to keep it as much as possible, corners of the room, four guys in the corners, and next to them, around the whole room. And then in the middle of the room is that mic. And there to the mic are pretty, like about 6 feet. So one guy on one side and the other side, it's, I want to say about 20 feet apart. And a mic is like, let's say 10 feet from not everybody, but, somewhere close. You can't kind of control. That's another thing, once you set, it's its own little thing, like I might have to come in, but they're doing just takes, and, we're taking. And anyway, so just knowing something like this is definitely, really cool. So you won't be able to just, working on the computer knowing that you kind of have to either work under somebody or show it somewhere and be like, I want to try it. Because, a lot of times it's, well, what if I get phased, kind of what you're asking. But it's like once you do it, it's, like I said, the stereo miking is, period, just anyone. And like I said, this setup, the Bloom line, it's kind of like an incredible little thing, kind of like a little secret. And like I told you about the panel, if you do a panel, you increase your sound a lot more than you do everything around you.
I never thought of that. I literally thought it would just be the thing right, like the wall right in front of me.
No, because the sound in front of you completely cancels out. And not completely, but because it's a cardioid, it cancels all of that kind of can. But the top
Kind of
and bottom,
cancels, complete that.
yeah, the bottom and top, you're messed. Especially because the bottom is you're sitting, so it's kind of, and the floor is pretty close, but the ceiling, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
It's like nothing there. At least put a rug there. Come on, no.
Yeah, rug on the ceiling. I'll just do that.
Something, but like I said, couple like a food or even less food, like a little couple chains. You can just go on Home Depot, buy 4 chains with what do you call them? With the
Hooks.
Yeah, with maybe like, so 4 chains, 4 hooks. Each side has a hook and a panel. And panel could be, just as big as your desk to, let's say even 4 by 2, something like that, 4 feet by 2 feet.
Okay.
You can literally put it doesn't need to be any kind of crazy insulation, anything, any kind of like a foam, but just, so it's not like a thin, super thin, not a rug, obviously.
Yeah.
A couple
but
inches
something
thick,
decent that does the
couple
job.
inches thick, and like not plastered to the ceiling, but just hang it low, right above you somewhere.
Yeah, because I was looking into setting up while I'm away from the studio, and they all just tried to show me the things behind you and put left, right, there, behind or something. But that's good to know. Just noted. What about I guess in that case, it's easier to do what you did versus the 12 different microphones. But if somebody wanted to have that open, what do you call it? Where the operas are one of those big arenas. If somebody wanted that arena, Yeah, like the hall sound on Adobe Audition, I can just like put a filter on it or something like that.
Mhm.
Does that like when you hear that, does that clearly sound fake to you?
No, can't tell the difference
It does sound good.
most of the time. The only thing that I can tell with some digital stuff is especially on the long reverbs, the decay.
Oh, the fade.
Yeah, the decay of the fade of the reverb of the whole sound. If that becomes, I don't want to say metallic, but that's a pretty easy word to describe. If it becomes a little bit more metallic, like a slab, it becomes like a slab. If I start hearing a little more metallic sound, sometimes the more expensive one or more thought out plugins, the longer tails are a lot better, a lot more like cushy or like smooth. I don't know what pretty good words are.
I think I understand though.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe like like just try and like describe a random sound in your head, and it's hard to do that, let alone the technical side.
I think you're right, exactly. I think if you would start working with an opera and you get your audition verb versus recording in an opera house, one vocal, then you can probably tell. But if it's like the person is singing nonstop, then you can't really tell the difference because you don't even hear the reverb. You just hear her
Doesn't
singing.
get that chance.
Yeah, she got to stop, and then you can like, oh, okay, that's the cheap reverb.
Okay, I got you. I think our time's just about wrapping up. But what's like, unless you're sponsored or something, what are some like good headphones or speakers? I got JBL speakers. I have like Jabra Elite earbuds. If somebody wants to get some like good headphones or speakers, you got any in mind?
It's not about the speakers; it's about the room. You can get any speakers. You got to tune the room.
No, just for like listening to music.
Oh, listen to music.
Yeah.
For me, I'm all about kind of like checking the mixes and masters and how stuff sounds. So I want to get Apple headphones because everybody's listening on Apple headphones. So I kind of like force myself to learn on stuff that everybody would have.
You gotta make the average sound the best because the average is heard by the average.
Right. If I go with speaker names, there's a company in Australia. I don't know what the budget is, but there's a called uh, what is it called? Johnson and something Johnson and I think I'm gonna have to get back on the speakers. Headphones, any kind of noise canceling, I think are great. Um, Focal, I've listened to. They're probably one of the best headphones that I don't use them, and I'm not sponsored by them, but I can suggest them. The cheaper version, like a couple $100, whatever, not the $3,000 versions. But those, and the reason I'm saying is because I kind of test stuff. So I tested them and they were the best sounding to me for the amount of money that I have to pay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good then. So what's the final, is there any final thing you want to tell the audience? Any final message or anything?
Well, maybe I should just do a little like a shameful plug.
Sure. Anything you want to plug?
Hi, my name is Slavic Livins. I am a mastering engineer at Chicago Audio Mastering. Thank you for listening to me, and thanks, Bill, for having me on your show.
Thanks for coming out to the show. And yeah, this has been FM 91.7 WHUS Stores at the top of the hour. And as always, deuces.
This has been The Way Podcast. If you want to know more about The Way Podcast, go to podcasttheway.com.